Hello everyone, welcome back to Naomi's Bookshelf. Today we're going to do a ranking of all the Agatha Christie books I read in the year 2021. So in the year of 2020, I read 12 books and I ranked them at the end of the year, or in January I believed, and that was really fun. This year I've done the same, except for the fact I read 16, and I am excited to do a ranking for them. This will be a very interesting ranking, as last time I had some books I really didn't like or felt really mediocre about. This time there were really very few of those. There are like 2 books that were under 4 stars. That's how good this year's Agatha Christie books were. So let's get into them. You can see my Agatha Christie shelves are a little under stocked because they're all now in a pile. Let's get into the very lowest ranking. At number 16 with 2 stars, it is Cat Among the Pigeons. This one was very much the lowest rated for the year. It's a Hercule Poirot book with no Poirot, essentially, for me. And I just felt like it was very meh, and I did not like it for that reason. It was very dry and very slow. At number 15, and not a bad book by any standard, is The Mysterious Spirit Styles. This is a 3-star book. It's a really great first book by Agatha Christie. It's just not at the caliber of the rest of the books that I read this year. So it's just that's how good the rest of the books were. Number 14 comes in with The Secret of Chimneys. This one is a Superintendent Battle, his first book, and I have a massive trigger when books use a certain ploy, and this book has that ploy to get out of certain events, and that's actually what the murderer does. And I have a complete rant about this when I talked about this book, so I'm not going to go into it anymore. That is definitely why it's in the number 14th position. So 4 stars aside from that thing. Yeah. Number 13 goes to 5 Little Pigs. This one's a really great mystery, and I really enjoy it. I just have a lot of trauma actually attached to the name Carla, and the main character, the main character who is accused of murder in this book is named Carla. So it's really hard for me to truly enjoy this book because of the character's name. So that's the only reason why it's rated lower. I think this is a really great mystery, and it's a 4-star book. It's still a great book. Like I said, these are all 4 stars from like this up. So even Secret of Chimneys. So yeah. Book number 12 on this list is Halloween Party with 4 stars. It is a really incredible book. I just felt like I predicted a little bit of it, and some of it I mean, it was really great, and I really did enjoy this one. I'm going to say that about all of the books because they're all so highly rated. So let me just say this. It was number 12 on this list because, yeah, it was, there's so high caliber books on this list this year. But number 12. Number 11 goes to The Rose and the Yew Tree. This is under her pen name of Mary Westmacott. I really did enjoy this. However, it's very different from her work. It's mostly like literary fiction, and I enjoyed a love triangle, and the story is told by a man in a wheelchair, so I like the diversity rep. However, I wasn't sure how accurate it was because I'm not in a wheelchair myself. So I thought this was a very interesting story, and I enjoyed how tragic it was, tragic love story in a sense. Number 10 goes to The Mousetrap. This is a play that I watched, so I didn't technically read, but I don't really read plays. I try to watch them if I can. And I really thoroughly enjoyed this play. I thought it was a nice cold weather play, and it was nice to watch in the winter time. So highly recommend watching the play if you haven't already done so. Number 9 goes to The Hollow. This one is also a 4-star. I'll tell you when we get into 5-star range. This one was very clever, and I loved how it showed so much of the different characters, and it had a lot of different female characters in this one, female possible protagonists, female potential suspects. I also loved how this showed the different ways a murder could have gone, but also I just think that this one was really clever. I thought this one was a very interesting one. If you haven't read it already, you should. Number 8 goes to Murder Mesopotamia. I really enjoyed the setting in this one. It was so interesting with the architecture and the archaeology, and how it was very much in a desert kind of area, and how it was set in a house. Definitely was an interesting feeling of a book, and I liked how it was also told by a nurse and how she hated Poirot, just kind of on principle, I feel like. I thought this was a very interesting way of telling the story. Number 7 goes to Ordeal by Innocence. This one is an independent novel, and I really enjoyed how this one goes off of the premises that someone is in jail, but he couldn't have done it, so you have to kind of go backtrack and figure out who could have done it instead. And I think that that's a really clever way to do this. This one's kind of one of those, well, if it's not the person in jail, then who else could it be? And I really liked this one. This one was definitely a 4-star, not a 5-star, but really close, and I thought this one was very enjoyable. Number 6 goes to Hercule Poirot's Christmas. This one was very interesting with Hercule Poirot solving all the case pieces. And I liked how all the different characters had something to lose or something to gain by the death. I also thought it was really interesting how the relationships were so intertwined, and it was such a toxic environment that you could feel it, like the relationships being torn apart. I also thought this was an interesting way to have a cold mystery book set at Christmas, and how each day, so there were no chapters, but each day was like its own section. And I really liked that way of telling it. I normally am one who really loves chapters, but I loved how each day was its own part. So you really were following the 6 days of this event. And I thought that was a really clever way of telling this format of a story. Number 6 was N or M. This one I really loved and I really enjoyed. I thought this one was so great, and I actually figured out part of this one too. This is a Tommy or Tuppence novel, and I loved how this one's kind of like spy and espionage. This one is where they are trying to figure out 2 people who have turned against the government during war, and I definitely figured out part of it. I thought I had some of it, but I didn't know all of it. I really loved that part. I loved how we did that. And I loved how Christie like fools you for some, and then I loved how I figured out something, but I didn't figure out everything. And I love how she does that to me every time. So I loved this one for those reasons. And I loved how Tommy Tuppence work as a duo, especially when they're young and married. And I love how this is not so young in this one, but I loved that dynamic as well. So definitely one to read if you're interested in reading Tommy and Tuppence and you don't want to read something, because some of their books aren't great for me. Like last year, one of the Tommy Tuppence books was the lowest for the pile, but this one is definitely high up on the list. As you can see, it is number 5 out of 16, and I think that this is a really great Tommy and Tuppence one to read if you're interested in them. Number 4 on the list is The Man in the Brown Suit. This one is so much fun. It's an adventure one. This is one of Christie's very early books, and I think it just has that extra kick of something special. You can tell she's trying to do something different, and I love it when she does something different with her books. She takes us all the way to Africa in this one. You go on a boat adventure, and I love the different ways that we see the boat. And you follow Anne as she is just going on this little adventure. And I love how she's so spunky. You also see this in journal entries and diary form. And I love how we also get to see clues before they are used. So you actually get to be on the like investigative journalist side with her. So I think this is a really fun adventure, Christie. It's not so much of a murder mystery, although there is that element. This is more of an adventure one, which I really enjoy. We are now into the 5-star territory. There were a lot of 4 stars, which are great. But the 5-star territory for Christie is like absolute and utter perfection, even if I can guess something. So 5-star is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I think this one still holds up to its 5-star rating, even on a reread this year. And I really enjoyed rediscovering the book and also finding the clues that were there all along. So this is a great 5-star reread for me. A new 5-star is that of the Sittaford Mystery. I thought this one was brilliant. I'm so glad that we picked this one for the Christie's Missing Readathon. I thoroughly loved this one. I was on the edge of my seat for the whole of this book. I could not believe I haven't read it yet, and I never would have picked it up aside from for this readathon. So yeah, such a great one. It is a cold weather mystery, an independent novel, and it's set in a snowstorm when they have a seance, and the seance tells them that someone has died. However, they have to trek through the snow, where one man treks through the snow to find that person, and sure enough, he's dead. And that's where the mystery really starts, between a detective from the police and a basically amateur detective and a reporter. So there are 3 people trying to work on this case somewhat together, but also not completely together. So much fun, so mysterious, and I loved seeing the clues play out in action. So good. I cannot wait to reread this in the future. And the number 1 spot will always, I think, go to, without a doubt, As Predictable as It Is, and Then There Were None. This is the one I reread in 2021, and it's still is my favorite of what I read. So 5 stars all the way, all the time. It will never die, in my opinion. It's just so good. And I found new things, and I loved making a dedicated review of this book, independently of this book, like only one book in that review. And I love just seeing how everything played out. And I love how seeing new things every time. This book is amazing. And it's still the best of the year. So this is the list, or the stack, which doesn't look quite sorted, of my 16 books that I read in 2021 by Agatha Christie. I read some short stories, so I didn't put them on this list. So please let me know down below in the comments, what was your favorite Christie that you read in 2021? Or if you have a rankings of what did you read in 2021 of Agatha Christie. I would love to chat about that. Or if you've read any of these, or if they're on your TBR, and what are your aims to read of them in 2022? I'd love to chat all things Christie down below in the comments. And if you're interested in any of my individual reviews, I have a playlist of them all, so you can check that out down in the cards and down below in the description box. So they are all there if you are interested in any of them. So please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you are new here. And I will see you next time with another video. Bye for now.